Hello, Larry. Welcome to the Transformational Learning Summit.
Thank you.
It's a deep honor to have this conversation with you. Landmark has had such a huge influence on my life, and somehow you were both my forum leader and the advanced course leader for both me and Natasha separately. So it all just kind of converged into a really meaningful relationship
Yeah,
that
we
we
got
have
stuck.
with you.
We got stuck together for a lifelong journey.
We are entangled forever,
Yeah.
in the best way possible. So I'd love to start with a question. What does transformation mean to you?
You know, it's funny, Lorenz, when you asked the question, I was sitting there thinking about it. It's actually morphed over the years. When I first started it, I like everyone else, I thought, okay, transformation. I'm gonna change myself. I'm gonna fix myself. And all of a sudden, as I started to be more involved and I started to lead, I was like, heck, transformation don't have jack to do with change. But that was kind of hard for me to get because everything was about change. From my body to my family, finances to my relationships, all changed. But the thing I started to get is no matter how much I tried to change it, it always ended up back the same way. And when I did the forum and then the advanced course and started leading it, I started to inquire, well, what the heck is this thing called transformation? And it had nothing to do with change. And it was hard for me to get my head around that for a long, long, long time. Even though I was leading it, I wasn't at the source of transformation. And when I started to get that it was not about changing or fixing anything, then I was like, then what's my reference point? Transformation has no reference point. It's got no reference point. So I couldn't look around to find something or write down a note of something because it had no reference point. It was such a new beginning of something that it took me a while to get in the world of a new beginning, never been done before, that world. So even now, after 24 years, I'm still engaging in transformation as itself. And every time I lead engaging with it, I discover something new about transformation, like a nuance or something of that nature, and how much I get in the way of transformation with my own, what I think it should or shouldn't be.
Mm.
So I keep inquiring to this world, and now I'm in the place, okay, good. The beginning of the genesis of, okay, beginning of, and I keep looking, what is the beginning of my conversation with you? I don't have any past, so transformation is much more available now because the only past I have with you is from leading and from you being in the course. But as someone having this conversation, I'm actually here with nothing there. So it's like I can really discover it. And like when I saw you with the beard, I'm like, whoa, that's a new looking guy over there. But it really is, I'm noticing that now that I'm in engaging of transformation.
There's something, I think this is the tricky aspect of this territory and something I've been reflecting a lot on, which is this concept of nothing. And
Uh-huh.
and it's a big thing, obviously, in the landmark world where you come to this space of empty and meaningless. But the thing about nothing as a concept that you play with in the mind is that you really want to make it into something, and so you have
Yes.
this thing about transformation and you really want to define it, it's really hard to stay in that space of like non-definition of nothing and the possibility that offers. And I think
Yes.
you're kind of like pointing at that a little bit.
I am, because this whole process of nothing, because we've got so much something there, like so much something there, uh, in that world of nothing, that when I get to nothing, it's such a shocking experience sometimes because I got so much something there. But then when I get to nothing, it's like, whoa, this is new. And I'll be there for a bit, and then something about that will show up. So it's it's
It's like,
here.
oh, I got a framework for this.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
moment I have a framework for this, it's now something. I'm like, oh,
Right.
doggone it. So it's this whole world of, it's ongoing to discover. But when I'm in experience of nothing, it's in those moments, it's like unlike anything I've experienced in those moments.
So
In those moments.
you're kind of in the business of getting people to nothing.
Hmm.
How do you How do you approach that?
I didn't mean, I don't quite get the,
I know I don't either, but
I couldn't
but
quite get
I
the
guess
question.
yeah, because there's so many entry points here that we could get into, of
Yeah.
what does it mean to work with a group of people. I think this is what's most powerful about the forum and the work the Landmark does is that somehow, given a weekend,
Hmm.
you can very reliably deliver the majority of people in a room to have a direct experience of this thing that you call empty and meaningless, and that's powerful. So I mean, there's so many places we could, that's kind of what my question was. How do you approach that? I know one way you approach that is related to context and helping people see the difference between what happened and the story that they create.
Yes.
But but what is it about? I mean, I don't even know how to frame this question. So maybe you can work with me here a little bit, but help me somehow like create some insight around like the essence of what you do.
Well, I think Lorenz, the essence of it is people are so filled up with a lot of already existing that they don't actually know that they're filled up. So they got so much past, so much story, so much all of that in their existence that they don't see that it's just stuff there in their existence. They can't see past it because it's been who they are for however long they're living since they have language. And what we do is we unconceal what is at the source of their loss of power, or their loss of freedom, or the loss of self-expression in areas of their life that are important to them. And the unconcealing of which gives them an opportunity to see what they haven't seen about themselves. And then choosing to keep going through that way, because they'll survive. How do I know they already have? Or creating a new path to go with that out of the way. And if we have enough of those conversations from the world of the distinctions, people begin to see their life, their living, and themselves from that world. If I had to say analogous too, it really is this old adage, a fish doesn't know it's in water until they take it out of water. We literally pull you out of the water of your life and see the world you're swimming in. Because you can't do anything about it until you get that you're in that world. Because for you, it's just your world. If we have enough of those distinctions available, people see themselves out of the water in which they've been living. Oh, this is why I act the way I am with my mother or father. Oh, I mean, there's another option. I mean, there's another option. Oh, I'll take that new option because they have another option that was never an option to them before. The vicious
You
circle, what you said, is dead on. You know, I had identical twins, and of course, they were at 6 years old. They were at the same event, same time, watched the exact same thing, made two different decisions, got two different lives. And they were both in the course together. When they got that, it was almost like watching their heads. There was like a Martian just kind of, what you just say? It's like I reached down inside their stomach and pulled their guts out and go, look, this is what you've been doing. And one of the young men
hmm.
goes, one decision led one to juvie, all of them led one to genius. They both saw the same thing, made two different decisions, two different contexts of their life, two different lives.
Hmm.
And it's striking to be in the presence of that kind of what the hell just happened? And they were literally both at the mic at the same time going, what the hell just happened? I thought it was you that did that. Because no, I thought it was you that did that. No, they both saw the same thing in the exact same moment of time.
So
It
this
was
thing you're
great.
calling about like unconcealing,
Yeah,
that's basically a conversational process.
absolutely. Not basically, it's totally a conversational process because you can never unconceal what there's to unconceal without being in a conversation because you can never see it by yourself. Like you can't see your own eyeballs.
And I think like part of the mastery that I've observed you engage in conversation is the way that you're in the world with someone, but you're not getting wrapped up in their story.
Hmm.
And how do you do that?
Training,
Training, practice.
training and practice. No, no, I mean, literally, no doubt. And see, the part that I struggled with, particularly at the beginning of my career, was what you just said. I get so into their world that I would get so far into it that I could not objectively see what they were saying because I was in it,
Hmm.
distinct from in it, but not of it. So it took some real training to be able to allow my heart to be open while hearing what I'm hearing and not falling into that world
Hmm. Hmm.
so that I stop hearing what's being said. It keeps me out of evaluating, assessing, judging. Well, that little so and so, why didn't you? You know, is to keep out of that world. But that's purely training and practice.
I love what you just said. Keep your heart open. You know, while you're there, your heart's open, but your mind isn't attaching and judging and
Very
trying to take people somewhere. You're just kind of there.
dead on.
And what is there like I just find, when I'm having a conversation like that with somebody, there's
Hmm.
something inside me that feels like, oh, here, we're closer to the truth. We're closer to something, right? And it kind of just shows up for me as a, I don't know, an intuitive felt sense. Like, how do you know when you've touched it, whatever it is for the person?
It'll come out of their mouth. They'll discover it for themselves.
Mm,
See, if I give it to them, that'll only be from my world about their world.
right.
And that's the hardest part. It's really the hardest part in leading is to not lead the witness or give them answers.
Right, right. Because you just
Because
said
then
it, you're leading and you're not leading.
it's, yeah. And the whole aspect of discovery is now missing. That's one of the things that even at 24 years, I still made big mistakes. And lately, we've been watching our own videos with Mark, who's the master of all this. And then I watch myself, I go, oh, that was disgusting, Larry. Oh, man. Jeez,
Mm,
that was terrible.
really? Wow.
Oh. And I just sit there. Sometimes I get nauseated watching how unskillful I am against watching Mark, who's the master, how skillful he is. It is a watching a master. Watching a master opens up all the gaps that are there.
Mm. So you'll watch like a full day recording? What's that process there like?
No, he has a team of people that he works with
Yeah.
that'll watch us lead, or Mark will watch us lead, and he'll mark down where that was, where he saw that. They'll take that clip of
Oh
that
wow.
interaction, and then all of a sudden we show up on a video of the interaction. Let's take a look at Larry interacting. As I'm watching myself, my stomach drops, my head
Mm,
spins, body sensations are all there. But what gets unconcealed, it's what's missing in my leading that would have the performance elevates if I correct that. I
mm,
can't see what I correct. If you watch yourself, you can't really see what there is to correct because you're so in it. So
mm,
watching it with my coach or watching with Mark, who again, who's the master of all this thing, he illuminates, you know, what's there. But here's the other part that I don't want to say. It jacks up who you are for yourself because you think you're doing this great job. Then you watch and get how terrible you are. It messes with your who you are. It's like, man,
mm. Empty and meaningless.
it's so funny. In that moment, stuff ain't empty and meaningless, boy. It has a whole lot of meaning to it.
You get to play with the stories. You get you get to be
I don't get to play with them. I am them bad boys in that moment. And then I got to deal with, okay, you're not in the distinction. Okay, uncollapse that. Get what's being
Mhm.
said is what's being said. I got to go through all of the human factors and reactions that are there.
Mm.
But it's the only way that I could see, because that gives some false sense of how well I'm doing, kills the form or the advanced course.
How often do you go through a process like that, like the video watching? That sounds so powerful.
Oh, we're going to it fairly regularly, once a month, once every 3 weeks.
But are the other are oh this is I was gonna say are the live sessions recorded, but this isn't live. This is the online. So it's just everything's recorded. So now you actually have the recordings to work with because you didn't used to have that with like
That's
New York
right.
City.
So if I'm in New
Okay, so
York,
that's a
I'm
game
making
changer.
it for sure. Because if I'm in New York, no one's watching. I'll do
Right.
something stupid. I don't know I'm doing something stupid. It's just, oh, I'm just doing what I do.
Mm,
But this weekend was really pretty amazing because as I led, there were several times I stopped and hold on, don't say that. Okay, don't do that. And I said it out loud. They go, what are you doing? I said, there's certain things I promised I wouldn't say and do, and I was about to do what I said I wouldn't do. So I'm catching myself in my own training.
right,
So I told
right.
them what was happening because I had to keep catching myself. And I went, no, no, no. Okay, don't do that. You said you would not say it to anyone. Okay, let me just pull that back for a second. Without the videos, I would still be doing that. And now when I'm leading, it's to generate the integrity to correct what I saw.
Mm. And I love the authenticity of it because I remember also a moment with you in person where you kind of like started like three times in a row. You were trying to say something and then you kind of kept getting like off it. And then you paused and you did some sort of internal thing. And then you're like, ah, okay, you were being distracted by something. And you kind of cleared that with yourself and with the space and it allowed you to be more present.
Yeah.
And I just love the like the straightforwardness of not putting it in some box of like, I'm a perfect facilitator. And just being straight up about it.
Yeah. And it was straight up because but the moment I said it straight up, Loren, it got something that was in the way out of the way that I didn't have to cover over. I'm now back with
Right.
people. And that happened more times than I care to say this past weekend, but it was what it was, so I could
Mm.
stop. Okay, hold on, let me look before I say something. And then I'd go. But it was took a Herculean effort because mostly I just put shit on loudspeaker.
So you said something right now that really struck me. It got something that was in the way out of the way, right? Out of your ability to be in a group space.
Yeah,
And I don't know, I'm going to imagine that you're more proficient at this now than you were before, but maybe when you were like in the earlier days of being a forum leader and stuff might come up with you, maybe you're feeling like a little anxiety or tension or someone's being particularly rowdy. Like, how do you approach getting stuff that's in the way out of the way, like in that sense, like you feel an tension in your body around something that's going on, how do you get that out of the way? Do you just acknowledge it with everyone, or do you have, on a break, you process it with someone in the back end, or like something you do internally?
some of the all above, except some of the all of the above. The thing is, when I have a body sensation, that's a register for something's going on.
Hmm.
I have tension, that's a register for something going on. And for me, what gets in the way of my performance is worry and anger. That what gets in the way of my performance.
Hmm.
And with worry and anger, I'm getting some little facility. And when worry shows up, not to make the worry go away, because you can't make worry go away or upset go away. It's like trying to make my blackness go away. What I can do is when worry's there, and it's going to be there, and I don't have to worry about it being there because it'll be there like breathing. I can reduce the significance of the worry, reduce it enough to get it so that it's no longer in the way of me being with you or being with who I'm interacting with. There's a person on Saturday came back from the break late. They did, and I was home to account. No, you said you'd be on time. You follow the ground rules, and she just blurted out, "I didn't make that agreement," and she was upset. Normally back in the day, I go, okay, look, don't shout out. If you do, you got to go. That's the old days. This past weekend, I was like, okay, come on up. What's happening? And she was revved. I said, but you did create an agreement. You know, Lorenz, she was just getting more and more revved. And then the split second, I got, oh, she's arguing with me. She can argue with me, but she can't argue with the distinctions. So let's put a distinction up and work with it from the distinctions.
So
See,
how's that an example of diminishing the worry?
good. Here's how. In the world, if the worry stayed at a 10, what I'm interacting with is my worry, talking to her through this filter of worry. So I couldn't hear what she says because I'm listening for the right answer. Don't screw it up. Don't mess it up. What if she screwed up the forum? What you gonna do? How you gonna handle it? All of that's going on. Like there's like having this between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I reduce the worry, I've lowered it enough so I can see and hear what's being said. And I didn't do it right away, but it was like in a quick moment I got, oh, when she's arguing with me, there's some worry going on because I'm not arguing with her
Mm-hmm.
to prove some point, to get her to see she's being a little shit and she's wrong. But the moment I got that, I got enough of the worry reduced. I could see what actions to take. Oh, let's bring distinction to it. And the moment I brought a distinction to it, it was almost like she went from 10 to 5
Mm-hmm.
in her upset, or 10 to 2 in her upset, because she was now having to deal with the distinction of vicious circle. Okay, what happened?
So you've used this word distinction a few times, and that's a big term in the landmark universe, but maybe you can
Mhm.
unpack it a little bit. Like,
Yeah. See, we have all these distinctions that we bring to the form: vicious circle, superstition, being reasonable, all these. And when the form gets done powerfully, the participants are left in the world of the distinctions, not in the world of the leader. So they can see their life living in self in the world of those distinctions. See, if you're in the middle of your life, like you said a couple times, or like empty and meaningless, if that wasn't powerful for you, that would have never come out of your mouth.
mm,
So when something's happening, the distinction, empty and meaningless, is now there for you as a access to deal with whatever you're dealing with right now.
is that like a micro context?
It's inside of the meta context that you walk out of the forum in the world, where you're free to be and free to act in
Mm-hmm.
life. So if you're in the middle of your working and someone says something that's upsetting to you, when you're really from the world of the distinctions, you'll go, hold on, what just happened? Oh, they said this. What did I make that mean?
Right.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thanks. So you start to draw on those distinctions as an access to being powerful in your life. So you
Mm,
can interrupt those automatic mechanisms that's running the doggone show.
mm-hmm.
My mechanism is to fight. I'll get in a fight in a heartbeat. I'm like, oh, you want some? Let's go. So I had to, and as a formula, I had to get, Larry will fight. The distinctions will distinguish.
Mm. So give me an example, like in it with the lady that came up, right? So you're
Sure.
feeling the first. I just want to clarify the worry. Was that that was present for you? That was your worry or her worry?
Mine.
Your worry.
It's
What were you
all
worried
mine.
about? What were you worried about?
Oh, her screwing up the forum, her messing
Like
up what's.
her kind of interfering with the group space is what you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Yes.
you feel a worry coming on, and then you notice it, and then you kind of switch the conversation to this distinction that you're calling vicious cycle. So can
Yeah,
you expand that a little bit? Like what it
sure. Because
mm,
the moment she said that, what was right there is this woman's going to screw up the forum.
really you felt
She's
that
trying
like
to
That
She's,
was like a thing that came up in your head.
it was, man, it was there like a rocket. It was like, she's gonna screw up the forum, the bitch. What has she got to do? I mean, all my humanity was right there. Like all my humanity was already on, it was on exhibit
Mm-mm. Would you say
for
this is
me.
like what's going on with you internally?
Absolutely.
Got it.
And it was in full blast for about 2 minutes. No, less than that, more like a minute. And then I physically, instead of leaning like this here, like ready for fight, I physically leaned back in my chair.
And this is
Was
on Zoom as well, just to clarify, right?
No,
We're talking
this
about
was in
this.
person.
This was in
This was
person.
in,
Oh, so you're in a chair in
yes,
person. Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, you know, and I literally leaned back, and when she was walking up, I literally just kind of took a breath. I said, "No, what's going on?" And then she just started talking. While she was talking, I was literally going from taking my what's going on internally from a 10 to a 9 to an 8 to a 7 until I could be with. And then I kind of leaned forward a little bit to talk to her. But I had to physically do something to interrupt what needed to be interrupted.
For yourself, your
Absolutely.
internal process. Got it.
Absolutely. Because if you don't, they're not talking to you, they're talking to your internal process.
Right. Right.
So I got enough of it out of the way. So I said, okay, well, let's just bring distinction to what you're dealing with. And it literally is not, here's the thing that was really pretty powerful about that. And I wasn't, it was, there was a there-ness, was that I was being with people in the room. And the moment I brought that distinction, she started to get the distinction, the room settled down.
Mm.
Because the anxiousness was right there. They're like, hey, no, then the room settled down. And so now the room can start to see themselves through her, like where they get reactivated. That's it. How many of you get reactivated? They'll raise their hands and say, good. This is what we were talking about earlier on Friday. To be able, in the middle of what you're dealing with, be able to see your life living in stuff in the world of this distinction. So I brought it back to what we covered on Friday and Saturday morning as an access for them to see the world of their reactions. But I didn't leave her jacked up, fucked up, or embarrassed. I left her sitting down with, good. Now, was that worth distinguishing that? She goes, yeah. I said, does this happen in your life? She goes, oh, yeah. I said,
Mm.
good. So it's the perfect thing to happen so you can begin to see yourself. Now, I could have embarrassed her and made it look small, but that would have been completely counter to who we really are.
So in that moment, like when you said, let's look at this through the world of distinction, what was the
Mm-hmm.
distinction that you offered?
Vicious circle.
Which is, I'm actually not familiar with that one.
Sure, no problem. What happened in the story? But what happened? So you shamed us. Okay, got it. No, tell me what actually happened. You shamed us. Okay, good. Well, I didn't do that. What did I actually do? You talked about the ground rules and agreements. Yeah, that's what I did.
Mm. Mm.
She goes, I didn't follow those. I didn't promise those agreements. That's okay. Look, let's look at the reality. When you got it in your packet, and secondly, you agreed on Friday when we did the ground rules that you'd follow do the fun way it's meant to be done. She goes, I didn't say yes. I said, great. So let's distinguish something about integrity, everyone.
Mm.
So when someone asks you a question or they go with the rules, and you don't say that you disagree with the rules, in absence, you've agreed with the rules.
Mm. Mm.
And she was like, wait a minute, what'd you say?
I think what's powerful here, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is maybe borrowing a little bit from what I also get from Werner Erhard. In a way, like when people
By the
step
way,
into the
I got that
forum,
from we got that from Warner as well. Okay, but
right?
go ahead.
Well, people step into the forum, they're stepping into a game. It's almost like a
Yes,
simulation, right? And there are very specific parameters to engaging in that game. And
yes,
that's what makes it so powerful because it's like, hey, it almost doesn't matter whether this is the truth outside or wherever, but we can all be in like it's the truth here, and you're agreeing that this is how we're going to operate in this game, and
Yes.
so then it takes the focus off of like, are you right or am I wrong? To like, well, let's look at the attributes that we've set up in this space that define like our way of being together, and can have a conversation from that place. And I think that's like really powerful.
Yeah. And what you're saying is really, really, really great because it is it's important to get what you're saying is so dead on, you know, that unless you create a context in which the game is happening, or that this is the game, inside the game, these are the rules of this game. Doesn't matter the game outside of this room, you can, because you have agreements outside of this room, but inside of here, these are the rules that you've agreed to play by. And so given that that's what's going to make the difference, so you start to create a platform that's really good, is create a platform for people to be able to function inside of the game they've put themselves in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about context for a little bit, because I just feel like for me this has been if I had to point at one thing, in this definition of transformation,
Sure.
is that somewhere in the heart of it is really about this awareness of context. It's it's
Yes.
it's just somehow recognizing that everything you're doing, all of your meaning making, all of it inevitably occurs within a context. And if you're not aware of that context, then you're creating this universal truth around your experience. And
Well,
part of
sorry for interrupting. I apologize for
yeah,
interrupting.
no, go ahead.
Their universal truth is still inside of some context.
Right. Exactly. That's the point, right? You're creating this truth that exists only inside a context.
Yes. And that's why one of the statements called the context is decisive.
Right. Right. So how do you think about I feel like this is one of the hardest things to break through sometimes with a person, is to help them see the context of
Yes.
their way of being. How do you have an answer if I ask you, how do you approach that? How do you like think about making that
Yeah.
visible to a person?
Yeah. And I would say, I'm going to say kind of weirdly, from the world of the distinctions. See, if I do distinction, vicious circle, what happened and the story about what happened, in creating the world of the distinctions, they start to see the context of their life is given by that story that they've been inside of, or the
Mm,
context of that relationship. And then you can create, yeah, that story that you just got, like, you kind of get in your head right there, like what just happened? Yeah, that's been the context you've been living inside of since you were 5. And you didn't know it was the context, because when you don't know it's the context, it is so real for you, like it's the floor you're standing on. So when you all for another distinction is already always listening. Yeah, there's a context in which the way in which you listen.
mm.
That's undistinguished. So you listen, but you don't hear. So they begin to see their life living and stuff in the world of those distinctions or context.
So I know a big part of the work here also revolves around language.
Yes.
And this is something I've heard Werner say, that it's something along the lines of that all transformation is linguistic.
Every single bit. It's all a linguistic phenomenon.
Say a little more about that.
Consider that you exist only in language.
Yeah, so say a little more about that. That's the I wanted to zoom in on that territory a little bit.
You see, if you start to take a look, Lorenz, when you were born nothing. You were born like everything. In the technical term, it's called hypersensitive. That's why kids learn languages so easy. They don't have a whole lot of stuff there. So when they get taught and they kind of get it quickly, right? But then you're rolling along in life, just running around having fun. Then your mother says, no, you can't have blue candy. To you, you think she's saying no to who? You, like something's wrong with you. No, she's just saying you
Mm.
can't have blue candy. All of a sudden you said, well, what's wrong with me? Boom. You're no longer just running around free to be. You're now walking around, there's something wrong with you. And you don't distinguish in that moment. All she said was you can't have blue candy. But you make that mean, then something's wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I can't have blue candy and that whole world. So now you're in this context called something's wrong here with where I am. Boom, you're no longer clean, free. That empty space that you were running around inside of having fun with.
And you're
And
saying
that's
all that happens through language, basically. The way that that is structured is
yeah,
linguistic.
it would have to be because who you're talking to.
Yourself.
I'm not enough only happens talking to yourself. You ain't talking to the candy bar or the store. You're
Mm.
talking to you that I am. And that's when this thing called I comes into existence. There was no I there until that moment. Then I'm here. Hold on. What do you mean I can't have candy? What's wrong with me? No. That all of a sudden this world comes into existence that you're now trafficking, living inside of.
Mm. Mm. And so one of the things that emerges out of the forum is this idea of possibility.
Mm,
And I want to unpack this a little bit, because there's something, so for me, it's taken a while to really get the power of possibility in a powerful way in its relationship to practice.
yeah.
In the sense of, I can say I am the possibility of being a powerful facilitator, and that doesn't require me to be any kind of facilitator in this particular moment, but it does ultimately, it requires me to commit to whatever it might take to become a great facilitator. And there's something there that I find is really liberating in really recognizing the open space that is possibility, while also, it's not like I'm the possibility of being the US president. Great, maybe, but what is it going to take me to commit to actually do that? So something there, I like that territory between possibility and practice and reality.
Yeah, very good. See, the possibility of being the US president has got no reality to it. That's called a pipe
Mm.
dream.
Mm.
See, most people think possibility is someday, maybe, but not now. The kind of possibility we're talking about is a right now possibility, not a someday, maybe. That's not possibility, my brother. That's a pipe dream. But when you get into the world of possibility, it exists as a right now phenomenon. Like for me, the possibility of being available and open hearted when I'm leading,
Mm.
it's not a someday, maybe. It's a right now phenomenon. Why?
Mm.
Because if I don't practice being open and available now, you can guarantee that I'm not going to walk in front of the room and turn it on.
Mm. Mm. What about, I mean, is it always, in the sense of a future aspiration, like I'm the possibility of being a successful business owner or something like that? Was that a different kind of possibility, like
Yeah, that's
mm,
more like a goal,
a
distinct
goal?
from a possibility. The
Mm.
goal is someday I'm going to reach someday. Possibility is this right now.
Mm. Mm. So it's something that's alive for you or
Right.
available to you in this moment that you can step into.
So for me, the possibility of being someone of integrity in the area of my well-being, it's a right now phenomenon. See, I'm committed to losing 30 to 40 pounds. You know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, 28 days or 27, whatever it is, I was 277. Today, when I left home, I was 258.
That's good.
It is. But what's kept that in existence is the possibility of being healthy, not the possibility of being 240.
Got it. So the
Possible.
possibility of being healthy and what that involves as a moment to moment
It,
decision making
well,
choice.
doesn't it? I'm traveling through the airport. So for breakfast, I got my damn scale here to weigh my food because that's consistent with the possibility of being healthy inside of what my wife and I chose as a structure to do that. So I had damn oatmeal this morning, farms oatmeal with one squash banana and two boiled eggs. Man, do you know they had sausage and egg downstairs that looked really good that I just wanted to slap like four pieces on my table along with some bread and make. I mean, that's what I wanted to do, but being someone of integrity for that possibility had me walk past that and go get the oatmeal, banana, and the two boiled eggs.
What's the declarative power of that? That's another thing you guys work with is this the
Yeah.
power of declaration. How does that work?
Well, it really is the power of declaration, but what's underneath declaration? Without a foundation of what?
Without a
Without,
foundation of what?
yeah, without a foundation of what? My declaration makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay, so what do you mean by a foundation of what?
If I don't have a foundation of integrity or a foundation of word,
Mm,
my declaration will have no doggone power whatsoever.
got it.
Zero.
Got it. So it's the integrity, your relationship to your word, your commitment to honoring your integrity that creates the power of that declaration.
Without question. Because if you
Mhm.
got the integrity, then you'll take the actions to match. You know, like I got two apples and a banana there instead of a bag of chips, which I really want, by the way. And a couple of other things that I know is inconsistent with that. That doesn't mean I don't want them. I'm
Mm,
just not choosing that. I'm choosing my word instead of my what's going on with me internally about it, on my bodily state, or my hunger, or my craving, or whatever that may be.
mhm. I think one of the things that makes the landmark environment so powerful is the group context around these things that we're talking about.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about that, about how, because these things we're talking about are both highly individual, like my declaration of possibility and
sure.
what's underneath that, but it's really the group context, especially in a like a weekend experience, that allows me to somehow have a meaningful relationship with these
Yeah.
things.
Well, there's a couple of components that I'll create. One is as a forum leader, I'm part of a body. As advanced course leader, I'm part of a group. So my lack of integrity impacts the group integrity. Man, it took me a while to get that. I was like, these people, you ain't telling me that. No, I had to deal with my lack of integrity impacted the group's integrity.
Say more about this. The part about being the part of the body in the group. Like, can
See,
you open that?
yeah, we got these seven of us who lead the advanced course worldwide. We have an agreement that we'll all perform in leading our program, right? You get
That's
three
the other. You're
people,
talking about the other leaders
yeah,
of the.
all of us, yeah,
Got it.
the four, seven of
Okay.
us.
Hmm.
And so we said we're going to produce these kind of results in this quarter, right? Three of the four of us, or three of the seven of us, are performing well every weekend. And then I show up and I lay two eggs in leading. All of a sudden, the performance of the team goes way down because I did not function and operate at the matter of my word as a team. And another way of saying it, I'd like you to consider it's like your performance is my performance,
Hmm.
or my performance is your performance.
Is
It's
performance measured by number of participants enrolling?
well, we create measures that would actually let us know whether or not we're getting it done or not.
Hmm.
See, without performance outcomes, how do you know whether or not you're fulfilling on what there is to fulfill? Without performance outcome, how do you know what your bank account's going to be? Without those performance outcomes, how do you know what you're producing?
Hmm.
And without all of that being measured, then what? So that's in the world of me as a leader. In the world in the forms of the advanced course, I think the most precious thing for me that is De Lorenz. It had happened this weekend in ways that was just a couple times this weekend, man. I just started to cry, and you know what happened literally was we had a Jewish man who was sharing this really big breakthrough that he had with his wife, right? And then they turned to this Black woman from Africa and said, I could have that conversation because of what you share with us, what you did with us.
Mm.
It was just freaking mind blowing because this Jewish man from Israel, this Black woman from Africa, she shared something that she went through and that she was discovering for herself. And he saw his life in there. And he went home and shared with his wife what he got for himself. But it wasn't because of him. It was because of someone from a completely different world, completely different culture, has shared herself. And all of a sudden, what was present in the room is just not about the culture. It's about what's possible for us as human beings. It was just there.
Mm.
It was a freaking human phenomena that we deal with. In that moment, this like something got taken out of the space of the forum called I'm different than everybody else. It was now a world where people were like, they were getting it for themselves as a human phenomena. That was one of the most profound moments of the forum this weekend. And I just started to cry because I saw myself in her. Everyone else saw it was just
Mm.
remarkable. That opened up a world for people to say, wow, I got the same stuff he does. I mean, we thought I don't share because I thought it became
Mm.
a distinct aspect of the forum.
That's one of the things about the forum experience that has inspired my work so much is
Mm.
the way that people open up about deep things in a way that
Yeah,
creates a context for people, for other people to share, creates a reflection or a recognition of your experience in the life of another person that then helps you see something about your life in a really powerful way. What do you
yes.
think of, what do you think about what is it about? I was just thinking about this just recently that there's a lot of talk about creating a safe space and
Hmm.
um my recollection of the forum is that people just start sharing like powerful stuff right away. Like what is it about stepping into that space that just invites people to start opening up in that way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think what is it about that space is the space pulls for. There is this, at least for most people in the room, there's many some that are not, obviously, because they sit there and go, I'm not like this, or I don't know where I'm here. But most of the people in the room are there because they're committed to something for their life.
Hmm. Hmm.
Most of them are there because they're committed to something for their life. And in the group dynamic, you'll have someone who's willing to speak up first and just put it on loudspeaker. When immediately what happens after that one person does, another person raised their hand, another person raised their hand. This one guy said it so great this weekend. He said, because, he was talking to Roger. He said, because Roger shared what Roger shared, which was so sensitive, it gave me the courage to do the same about mine.
Do you ever have a group where you start out and nobody's sharing?
Oh, yeah. I've never had that with teenagers or young people, but adults, oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
how do you approach that when you need to like shake it up a little bit? Like it's just flat and nobody's stepping into it.
Sometimes I just sit there and don't say anything.
Do you ever create a story about it in your head?
Oh, hell yeah. This is jacked up. This is screwed up. Okay. And then that's when I gotta decrease. Yeah, sorry. I gotta reduce the significance of worry in that moment to just be
Hmm.
with and stay with what's there. And sometimes I'll say, okay, well, let's stop the action. What's going on? Why y'all so quiet? What's happening? I did it
Hmm.
last night jokingly. I said, who wants to share for an empty and meaningless? It was real quiet. I was like, hold on. I told y'all if y'all get cute, I'm gonna call you out. We got company now, so y'all get quiet. They started laughing. But there's all these ways to elicit people participating, sharing, getting themselves back in the game called the Landmark Forum. I
Hmm.
told them the racket will do this. That was a nice weekend. I'll take it from here. Your racket is all their perks. So unless you train yourself, that's how your life will be.
Mm. You ever call on people when they haven't volunteered? Is that a thing you like explicitly avoid, or do you do it selectively when you feel called to?
I do it selectively, very selectively, because we say that you don't have to say anything. But there are times I can experience something with someone on Zoom or in person. Believe it or not, on Zoom it's easier to see.
Yeah, just because you have a better visual on everyone's face in one place.
Have a better visual and I can change screens and go, Mike, what the heck's going on over there? I can see you.
Mm. Do you find it on in the Zoom context, when someone's getting rowdy, is that easier or harder to deal with than in person or the same?
Let me look. I'd say it's about the same because they create two different dynamics. I had someone get really rowdy 2 forums ago and I handled it really horribly. 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 What I did, I just left shit in the space because I didn't actually deal with it.
Mm,
I just said, "Yep, thank you. We'll get to that." Then I deal with
mm,
someone else. We'll get to that. Horribly,
mm,
because whatever I didn't deal with got left in the space for the whole forum and never got out.
mm.
So I didn't
I
take it.
mean, but sometimes you're under time pressure, right, to move it forward, or is it just like what's coming up is what there is to deal with?
What's coming up is what there's to deal with and be responsible for the time. In that situation, I used time as a justification, which is complete bullshit. I didn't know I
Mm,
do. I just swallowed my nuts and didn't. Sorry, I just stopped having the courage to deal with or put the whole forum at risk to deal with that one situation. That was the really biggest lack of integrity because it took the rest of the forum down for the whole weekend because
mm,
nothing started to get complete because there was enough of that crap left in the space
mm.
that it just colored the whole forum. And this weekend, I had to make the correction when that woman popped up on Saturday. I had to deal with that right down to the bottom. And this other one who jumped up and did that, I had to deal with her right to the bottom until she could see a life of living herself in the distinctions. So
Mm,
this weekend is what I did not leave in the space. That one was just brutal.
mm,
And the results in people's lives were brutal because they were no longer safe to deal with it because I left something there that wasn't dealt with. That was
mm.
all on me.
I love the collective implication there, that if you have one person who has stuff that's unresolved in an interaction with you, and especially if then that's like compounded by another, then that affects everyone's ability to deal with whatever's there in the space. It's not just like a solo thing.
And that's why it's so critical to complete whatever's there, because if you don't, you're dead on right. It's going to show up in the space. It's going to be right there sitting in your lap. And
Mm.
it was.
So you talked about measurement earlier. This is something that I think about a lot as what does it mean to measure the outcome of a
Sure.
transformational experience? What does measurement and performance mean for you?
Here's what it looks like if we look right at performance is action or inaction, right? I'm on a call with you. That's performance. That's a measure of performance. You took the actions you need to take to have this call happen. That's a measure. How do you know you're effective? I'm on the call with you.
Okay.
Makes it black and white. If people get the forum, really get the forum, if you actually get the forum, what do you want to do? When you really get the forum, what do you want to do?
You're gonna tell other people about
Exactly. When you don't
it.
get the forum, you ain't gonna say jack about it.
Mm,
When you get the forum, you want other people to get it. So the numbers are not measured in the number of whatever that's there. We had to create some floor because when people get the forum, they want other people to get it because they want to make sure people in their lives get what they got.
mm,
So they'll bring their guests, or in the seminar, they'll get, wow, I need to shoot. This is great. I need coaching to get practice on so that when I'm living life, because I'm going back in my life, because I'm going from an untransformed world, I'm going from a transformed world to an untransformed world. If I don't do this, I'm screwed. So they put themselves in the seminar to get the coaching. Not because we want them to have anything, we want them to get the coaching.
mm,
If I do a great job in the forum, they're going to want to be like you. They want to be like us. They want to be like someone who can create their life now. Once they get that space, oh, dag, what am I going to create there now? Oh, the advanced course. Now I know why the advanced course now makes sense.
mm,
So if I get my job done, they start to expand their participation, not for their participation's sake, but for their life's sake.
And the tangible measurement of that is the action that they take either in enrolling others or in stepping into a subsequent program.
You, it's the only way you would know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you had, I had a great landmark forum, but no one invited anybody. What reality was I living in? Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in the world of called the transformation, so that they want their mother who suffers from being upset, or their brother whose marriage is not working. Oh, you mean I can do something about that? I invited my nephew who's coming Tuesday night because I haven't talked to my family in 30 years. I just talked to my sister. She goes, my family had a whole conversation. It was like, wow, something's different about him. Because why? Because he was big enough to say, I apologize for stepping away from the family for 30 years. I didn't put it in no one's pocket other than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know that to my sister just talked to me. She goes, man, when you did that, she goes, that's what makes you really good at what you're doing. Everyone goes, wow, that's very different. It would, I didn't even know that. And
Mm-hmm.
now the family's about, well, I don't know what's up with him, but we want him more around now. I- That, so I was in the forum this weekend. This was not like hyperbole. Brother, I was in the forum dealing with my shit.
Mm-hmm. Are you inviting your family members into the forum though, as a
Absolutely.
you know?
My nephew's coming. I talked to my uncle's daughter, uncle who died at the funeral I was at. I talked to his daughter and the other funeral. She goes, I want to do it. I said,
Mm-hmm.
get good. So I'm going to invite her for tonight and tell her to bring her daughter with her. And we're going to fight a couple of other cousins. Why? Being with my family. And what I said to them openly is that I've got something that can make a difference in the world. And the fact that I sold out on y'all and not making it for you makes me full of crap. And I had to deal with that. And I
Mm-hmm.
shared that in the forum because I was in the forum.
Because you're in the forum.
And my brother is going to do the forum in March because
Mm.
he's retired. After 33 years of sharing with him, he's finally a yes.
Is he gonna? He's not. Do you have any? Do you care whether he ends up taking a forum experience with you or someone else?
Nah, I just want him in the forum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just wondering if you ever have someone in a forum space with you, they're like, oh, we have a personal relationship in a way that maybe would affect the quality of what happens in this space.
It's so funny you say that. Is if my nephew and my my uncle's daughter is in the forum, I'm going to have to get myself cleared really good so I can lead the forum to the people, not to them. So
Right.
yeah, my humanity is always right there on display. Like, oh crap, here we go. But it's just ridiculous.
Say a little more about this word you just used, cleared.
Yeah, you asked something earlier that's there. It's what's in the way of my performance is worry. And until I can reduce the significance of the worry, it stays in the way of my performance. I called my coach this weekend about the advanced course and about Sunday morning, and what was there was worry. So I talked to Udi, and what we did was get what was in the way out of the way so I can go be there for the people, not be given by worry. And when we talk, all he does is just get my communications, and then we look together and create together. That clearing creates a clearing for the form of the advanced course so that the distinctions are there, not Larry. See,
Mm.
our personality, persona, all that stuff gets in the way of being with people. So that world of when that's out of the way, I have a greater opportunity to perform with the people, a greater opportunity to make the difference I'm about to make. If not, all my crap is there.
Is that a matter of becoming aware of what's in the space, what's there that's blocking your ability to be fully there, and then somehow
Yes,
creating a different context around that?
absolutely. And back to that word context again. And then it's getting it out of, then it's creating a context that's going to fulfill on what we're out to accomplish. to
Mm.
fulfill on, because all I'm up to do is fulfilling on what I gave my word to. My job is to get everything out of the way to make sure that shit happens. That happens. And as you start to get more and more facile, what's in the way gets more and more elusive.
Mm-hmm. Like more subtle.
Oh, baby. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Give me an example of like your worry creating a different context around that.
Yeah. Worry about whether people are going to register in the advanced course or not. See, that's worry about the numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
just think context is if they don't walk out with a future, they have some they have so much past in the way. If they don't get that past out of the way, all they're going to be left with is all that stuff. So if I'm fighting for their life, I'm fighting for that they have all the structures to live the life they were given to live. If I'm fighting for a number, I'm just talking about the gas. Man, it's such a different world
Mm.
because fighting for a number is distinct from fighting for their life.
I think this is where like shit gets real when you're talking about enrollment and registration is the
Yeah,
context you create for yourself. Am I trying to meet a number? Am I trying to do with something that someone's telling me? Or am I standing for someone's life or the possibility I see for them?
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna give you two on the court what it looks like. I'm going right to my family. My uncle has two sons. My uncle Johnny and Uncle Thomas, those are the men who raised me. Loren, without those men, I'd be dead. And I'm not talking figuratively speaking, realistically. Because every time I was about to jump into the fire, they stuck their arm out and pulled me out of it. So I owe those men my life. I owe the woman who registered me in the form my life. And it's not hyperbole, my life. Uncle Tom came to my wedding 6 months ago. It's the first time I ever brought the black part of my life together with the white part of my life in 33 years,
What's the
ever.
what's the what's the white part of your life?
My wife is white,
Oh, okay.
and her family's
Okay.
white from Denver.
Got it. Got
My
it.
whole family's chocolate,
Got
you know. And I've been
it.
hiding my families from each other for 30 years. Never
Hmm.
introduced anyone to anyone. My uncle came. He could barely walk. He's 80, but he was there was the most moving thing that he was there. His two sons do not speak. One
To
is
each
a
other.
to each other.
Hmm.
I mean, one is highly, highly accomplished in the world of sports and officiating and security. The other's accomplished as a young architect. They don't talk, something happened. And the young ones had a couple of heart attacks. And as I beat with them, I watched them. I've never met his 30-year-old son ever, met his children. And as I watched that, I said, this is not okay. This is not okay. I took Barrett to his side and I go, dude, this ain't okay. What's going on? He said, there's more to it. I'm like, I get it. I walked over to my uncle and his son because they're willing to talk to Barrett. I said, I got this now. You only got to worry about it. I got this. I'm going to make sure that Barrett, you know, and his brother talk. Uncle Tom goes, he said, Larry, I'm in my 80s. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. I said, before you die, they're going to get connected. That is now my job. I'm going to do that. My uncle's daughter, around funerals, black folk get crazy. Families get crazy. Money grubbing, none of that. I said, I got you. Because promise, I said, I got you. That's not about this enrollment, but registration is the access to them having their life work.
Hmm.
Roger's in the course. His sister, or registering tomorrow night, is an access to that man having his life work because he got thrown in jail at 16 for something he didn't do. He was in jail for 3 years, and they finally got he didn't do it.
Hmm.
And his relationship with his sister says she's coming tomorrow. That's a big deal for him that his sister gets freedom as well. When I stay in that context, things turn out. The moment I start worrying about the numbers, I'm screwed because it's no
Hmm.
longer about what I said I'm here for.
Hmm.
And it takes something to fight that dog off.
There is something here that the because there's both worlds in the sense of you were talking earlier about having the seven advanced course leaders hold
Hmm.
each other accountable to the
Hmm.
measure of performance, which is
Yeah.
like some kind of like numbers, and at the same time existing in the context of what those numbers represent.
And that's what we deal with. We know the numbers that are off. We know the numbers are off because something didn't get dealt with in the course inside of what possible. So the numbers represent something, and it's not about the numbers. It represents whether the participants got the world of the forum or the world of the advanced course. If they got the world of it, they want to keep developing themselves to fulfill that kind of life.
Hmm.
And that's something that I fight with. Like you got to keep that dog up there in that corner over there. Because when it becomes about the numbers, this goes to shit because it's all about forcing people to make some numbers and the like versus, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? What are you going to do with that future? We got to do with something. We have this Orthodox woman last night came up to me. She goes, man, you saved my life. You don't know it. I'm like, excuse me? When I came back and talked to you, said a few words and you just opened up what I need to do with my mother. And I went and talked to her. She goes, I can't believe how I'm feeling right now. She goes, but I have a problem. I said, what's that? She goes, I'm Orthodox. I cannot do Zoom. I'm not allowed to do Zoom because I'm Orthodox Jew. She goes, I need this advanced course because I got to create a future now. How am I going to do that? So now I got to go to because for her, she was just like, man, what I got, what I didn't even think was possible. She got into an accident, and only a few months ago, she's recovered enough. She was in a coma. This really horrible shit happened to her.
Hmm.
And another guy called him Irish. At 13, he stole his mother's car with his 11-year-old, got into an accident in his ditch, and his brothers have been a vegetable ever since. He's never forgiven himself for that.
Hmm.
And for him, he's just like, I got to now do something here. See, that's when people want to develop themselves because they know there's a world for them to create, a world for them to live inside of that they don't have access to by themselves.
Hmm.
And when I'm standing there, I'm a fucking phenomenon. When I'm standing with the numbers, I'm a complete asshole. I wish I apologize for cussing, but it's
No, no. But what's it because you used the word fighting earlier. Like what's the process by which you come alive in that space every time you step into the group space?
I've got to turn my back on the numbers. I got to turn my back on and be clear about what I'm here for.
And is that like a reminder? Is that a conversation with a coach? Is that like some sort of
It's
internal
it's
process?
it's all of the above.
Hmm.
And the foundation has got to be my word.
Hmm.
You know, I was had Jeff Wilmore was my coach many years ago. I was on a clearing call to lead. He goes, "What's going on with you?" I said, "Fuck, I'm not inspired." He hung up the phone. I'm like, "What the hell?"
You called yourself not inspiring and he hung up on you?
Yeah.
He's like,
It,
I don't have
it,
time for this shit.
but by the way, exactly. He goes, "Not my job for you to be inspired. Honor your word, and you'll be inspired leading."
Mm,
I'm not going to interact with that world. And it was so shocking. I never forgot that moment. Never.
mm, mm. So I want to wrap up here pretty soon. Maybe you just one final note here. You use this word on the court, and I feel like this is such a powerful distinction. Also, the way I've heard you talk about the difference between epistemological learning and ontological learning, and I feel like this is at the heart of
Yes.
what you work with. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah. Two things. One, when you're on the court of your life, there's no life happening in your head. None. People mistake, I'm thinking about it must mean I'm doing something about it. I'm
Mm.
planning, it must mean I'm doing something about it. That's all from the world of in their head. On the court, when you are in action, taking action in your life. Oh, should have a debrief call now. I apologize. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I was
Record again. All right. Larry, I just realized we have come up against the end of our time here. You need to jump off. So much gratitude to the work that you do, the wisdom you share, and the
I,
impact you've had on my life. Thank you, my friend.
I think what I was present to was as I talked to you, my profound love and honor for you.
Thank you.
I love the work you're doing. And here's what I offer in the next couple of weeks. If you want, we can schedule like a half an hour to complete what you're asking. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. All right, my
I'd
friend.
be happy. All right, brother.
Much love
Thank
to
you.
you. Thank you.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye bye.